Right, so this meeting has been on for half an hour and I forgot to push the record button. So I'll give a quick summary of what we've been talking about with a few people here. Of course, the Cardano Summit we briefly talked about. We talked about the new rules and conditions for deep funding round 2, but only very briefly. I distributed the new rules document, and it's quite a lengthy document, so that might call for another discussion in another day. And then we talked about a possible initiative of SingularityNET to start a training program for community members that would like to help teams on board and get paid for that. And it's not a trivial job. It requires quite a bit of time to onboard an organization or service properly. But that means that there's also a real substantial award to be received there. So I think that might be interesting for some community members that would like to get more engaged. So, and now the interesting part, which was not foreseen, is that we stumbled on the onboarding process, and that we were discussing how onboarding today actually goes, and how if our documentation is adequate or not. And I just shared some screens. So Tivo here told me that he Googled and he landed on the developer portal, but then on a section which says publishing. While when you actually really want to publish in a step-by-step, we do have a step-by-step process, you would have to go to the publisher portal, which is the first threshold and hard thing that people may encounter. And then what we also were signaling is two things, actually. One thing is that it would be clear to have a general outline before actually going into the process. These are the 5 steps, and these are the things you need, and these are the capabilities you need. So do you need to be a developer? Do you need to have a server? Do you need to know anything about cloud hosting? Do you, of course, a wallet address, that is stated. But I think we could do a little bit more in terms of expectation management there, and I think that's actually quite important. And another thing is that, once you're in the developer portal, it's very hard to get back to the website, and when you're in, and it's even hard to, not quite obvious to go to the publisher portal. And these two sites tend to point to each other, but maybe the user journey there is not completely clear, I would say. So that's where we were right now. I thought it was a hugely interesting discussion to hear it firsthand from people with a fresh look who were trying to actually use it. We can't do it over again, but we'll just continue from here. So anything you guys like to add to that, or rephrase if you want, that's also fine with me. No, it's all been said, right? We missed the moment.
I think the last link what you shared actually put you directly on the back what I wanted to know, like how do you create an API and what you need, and there are like samples how to do that. So I assume I get the idea. Once you get the service done, like then you choose the protocol buffer basically, which then defines the language you are gonna use the API with, and like what calls you gonna accept and what you're gonna return from your own service. And from there, it's like you have to do some metadata stuff to upload in IPFS, and then I guess let rest this goes like step by step just to finalize and get it verified.
Yeah. Let me share my screen again so I can show what we were trying to do. So yeah, I think in broad strokes, you're probably right, Tivo. So what we set out to do is when you go to our new website and you would click on the menu, then you get this screen, and then at the bottom you see marketplace, AJX staking, publisher and developer portal. And it's easy to go to the developer portal, and then you have a lot of information. So it's a nice page with a lot of background information, a tutorial. But maybe it's a little bit much. So we do have this tutorial here. Dependencies, set up a Docker container, command line interface.
This is actually the first page I landed on. Like that was my journey to.
Okay.
That was the first page I landed on, but from the menu, I didn't think to click on the publisher. I clicked on the developer first. So I completely even missed the publisher. That's why I asked you.
Yeah, but I'm now in the, yeah, okay, yeah, I can imagine that. If you're a developer and you see developer portal, you don't look further. You go to the developer portal. You don't go to the publisher portal. That makes total sense. So I think we have some work to do there to clarify that somehow. But actually, this is not all that bad, right? We do have this here, but maybe we need to, yeah, publish it, guide just a little bit better. I mean, it says tutorial here. This is more the core concepts if you want to learn more why we're doing it, how we're doing it, how everything is set up. Tools and resources, yeah, makes some sense, I would say. But then again, if you would go to the publisher portal, you get to this other screen, and this is more streamlined to help you go step by step through the process of publishing. So get started, and then it tells you what you need to start registering, and of course you need a wallet address for that. That would be the first step. I think what might be missing here still is to give a little bit overview of how many steps you have to encounter, you will encounter, and what kind of experience or knowledge you need to be successful, or what environments or what tooling or what attributes you need. So I still think that is important. And yeah, another thing that's a little bit of an old issue with me is that this is really a development, an area of its own, domain of its own. So there's no way to get out of this back to our regular website. You can go to the publisher, to the developer, or even that is quite hard here. Actually, I don't know how you get to the developer portal from here. So from the developer portal, this is very interesting. You can go to the publisher portal, but from the publisher portal, there's no easy way to get back to the developer portal.
Yeah. Maybe you click dev docs.
Get started. There's the dev docs at the bottom.
Sorry, at the bottom you're saying?
Yes. Get started. Yeah, there.
That's probably the developer portal. Yeah, you're right. So they mix and mingle in a bit unclear ways, I would say, but yeah. Still, there is a lot info there, but maybe there's too much info at some places and just not enough on other places. So yeah, it would be good to have somebody with a fresh eye have a look at it. And as I mentioned before, last week in the meeting, which is also recorded, I think, and published, there was a person called Peter who asked me, well, could we have a video tutorial? So I think that could also help, that you could first see, walk through it in a video. And actually, I took action on that, and we are working on creating a video. So a person in one of our teams who is working on onboarding a lot of services has been asked to do this. Now, this probably won't be ready tomorrow. It will take some time, etc. But this is an action that we actually put out there and working on it immediately. So maybe that would already, if we put a link to that in the right places, that might already solve some of the issues here. Cool. So yeah, so there are two ways of onboarding services. One is to have very good tutorials and documentation, which we have in a sense, but maybe there's just a few things missing there to make it work right. And the other one would be to have onboarding as a service. So just tell me what you want and we'll do it for you. And that is something that I would like to put out to the community and see if there would be people interested in getting trained to do that. So publishing a service is not something that you will do normally in hours. It would take days. And the complexities there and the difference between one service and another, yeah, has to do with the specifics of a service. So it's not so much a lack of tooling, but every service has different circumstances, background, front end, server requirements, which makes every onboarding a little bit different and therefore also hard, if not impossible, to automate. So we'll probably need to rely on human beings to onboard a service for the time being. And yeah, it would be great if we could get a pool of community developers who would like to help AI developers onboard their service, and maybe also reach out, and we will help with the deep funding next round, where we can also help with the compensation, the costs for onboarding services. So I think we have a lot of ingredients available, and a few more shortly, to start out and make that something that could be successful, and of which some people might be able, if you like to do it, to make a living of it, actually. Because yeah, as I mentioned, there's substantial work and therefore also significant rewards available for that. So yeah, one direction I was hoping for any feedback that is helpful. Still open for that. I'm also interested to see, I see all kinds of messages going in the chat. Maybe you could put it out in the meeting, because if I start reading, this would be a very boring thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's that related.
Bounty system, yeah. I think it's if it's a valid job, it should get valid pay. And one direction would be through the next round of deep funding, where we have a specific pool for onboarding. I can also imagine developers who onboard, that they would actually also be able to reach out to developers and tell them, listen, I can onboard your service. And then go out through our next round of deep funding and say, you know, I will take $2,000 for the onboarding process, and there are some tweaks on the service to be done that might cost another $1,000 or $2,000, and then for $4,000 we are able to put this service on the platform. And that would be a perfect proposal, which would have a good success ratio, I think.
You could also look at credentialing the people who go through like some training so that they can actually kind of say they've done the training.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. I think the best way would be, thinking of it right now, is to route to these people through our website maybe, or through our channels, so that we can also publish them on different places, maybe on our website, maybe on the Deep Funding website, I don't know. Have a list, an index of people. These people can help you with onboarding. Or if people don't want to be listed like that, we could have their information, and then we could forward any potential customer to them. And if there's another way that we can highlight, can create an NFT, I don't know, to show that people have gone through the training, yeah, that would also be interesting.
Maybe it would be a great idea to somehow incentivize existing services to onboard new services. So let's say right out of the fund for onboarding new services, there could be like, I don't want to say a competition, but let's say like a monetary incentive for the people that are already onboarded to go help those that like they know would need to be onboarded since they just got out of the fund or something like that. So that could be recurring, depending on if the onboarding service is going to be a continuous funding, funded thing in deep funding.
Yes, I think there will be. I hope it will be successful. That would be really great. I would be really disappointed. Let me stop sharing, by the way. If we couldn't make it a success yet, and then still, I would probably give it another chance and change some things. So I expect and hope it will be a recurring thing. I can even imagine it will be more like a parallel trajectory next to our regular deep funding rounds, and maybe we can organize it a little bit different, or maybe we can have a vote every month on the services that are listed to be sponsored for onboarding, and that would be a genuine income resource for people who would help support onboarding support engineer. That would be a nice name. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question with that, Joanna.
No, it did answer my question. Just to add to that, I was thinking to somehow, at the end of each fund, with those funded services that want to get to onboarding, to somehow incentivize similar services that have already onboarded to help onboard them. So that could be like an addition from the fund itself, maybe a reserve that's like 2,000, whatever. It's hard to maybe quantify, but.
Personally, I do think that onboarding requires some special talents, which is usually not the core business of any AI developer or proposing team. It's something they have to do additional. So it's not always the best match, I would say. Right. Which is actually why I believe personally that it would be good to offer this as a service, and it could be successful like that. And I do think that one of the most interesting dynamics I see currently with the existing teams is how they collaborate and communicate, and the overlap there is also in our bi-weekly meetings. So there is that opportunity that one team will help another, and with that knowledge that they gained in round one, they could help another team in round two. I think that is definitely a thing. But yeah, I would think it would be great if we have 3 or 5, and maybe in the future more people, a group of people that would just be ready and would be completely specialized in that, and could do it fast and efficient because they're doing it more often.
Something similar that I would say exists in Cardano is like setting up a stake pool. There's a lot of stake pool operators that don't necessarily have the technical knowledge to set it up, but they're, let's say, good at marketing. So I do know a community member in Cardano that just saw this as an opportunity and now offers like stake pool infrastructure as a service.
Yeah.
So something along those lines.
Yeah, there's a similarity there. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so if you know any people who would be interested, let me know. If you know a channel where we could advertise this for people who might be interested, also please let me know. And yeah, to be honest, this in this shape, it just came up like 2 days ago, not even. So I'm acting quickly on this, and we're still a little bit in ideation phase, also with the engineering team, and also on how we will actually train people. And but I think the most important thing would be to have capable people that want to be trained. Then we will figure it out, and the first few people that we train, it will probably be rather hands-on with some engineer from our back end that will help and support, and maybe we'll have some initial materials ready, like the video that I was explaining. All right. Yeah. One thing that I am a little bit concerned about is the market circumstances right now, regarding the start of the next round of deep funding. In the next round, we will have some kind of minimum exchange rate to protect our deep funding treasury from sudden downward spike, so to say, that would suddenly deplete it at a very low rate, and then we won't have anything left 3 months when the rates are up again, and that would be a huge pity. So we will protect that. But then, of course, it doesn't make any sense to start a round when there's a risk that it will go quickly beyond it. I mean, that should be a real exception. So we can, of course, lower the threshold. But yeah, nobody knows what will happen over the coming weeks. So that's a little bit tricky, when to pull the trigger to start a new round. I think Tivo, I see your lips moving, but you're muted.
Bill is asking like how is the distribution is done, and I'm explaining him like similar to Catalyst where
actually not the distribution. So Catalyst moved their model to an ADA-based fund size.
Yeah.
So that they did that in order to protect. So you offer the token size in token, but pay out in US.
We do it in USD, but we calculate the amounts at the moment of disbursement. So we require multiple milestones from teams. So if you have 5 milestones, so you have a project of 10,000 and you have 5 milestones of each 2,000, then each time you come to me and you say, Jan, I have this milestone and here's the deliverable, then I'll say, great, congratulations, I'll pay the next 2,000. And then I will look at the exchange rate and pay what the current exchange rate is.
So what, it doesn't quite fix that problem, but in order to protect the treasury, I guess, yeah, nothing protects the treasury as such, right?
No, the only thing, so what we are setting out to do is, so what Cardano does is saying we have a maximum of 100,000 ADA or AGIX, whatever, for this round, and we will calculate it, but then you would have to pay it out already in advance to the teams if you want them to commit to the assignment. And we want to pay out milestone based. So we are making 2 changes. The first is that we are saying, well, if the token price, for whatever reason, goes suddenly below a certain threshold, we will still be calculating with an artificial threshold of a minimum. And right now, my idea was to have it at 4 cents for AGIX, which is a little bit lower than the current rate, but not a lot.
It gets hard for the projects then, right? Because
partly. So what we are currently doing is that we're disbursing, rewarding the teams for the work done. So we pay out afterwards. First, they have to show here is a deliverable, and then we will pay for it. So we will revert that. What we will do is we will pay in the beginning of each milestone. So here's $2,000 worth of AGIX. Go make your milestone, and then at the end of the milestone, if they deliver, show that it's delivered, then we will tell them, okay, now you can have the next 2,000 for the next milestone. So they are protected for one milestone, but not for the whole project. So that is still an issue. If you want to recruit a team for a longer period, then you have a problem.
I wonder if there's some sort of like top-up mechanism. So like if at the end of your project you haven't been paid out because of the price collapsed, then there's a reserve put aside for recovery, and once it hits the rate that you get an extra bonus payout sometime in the future. Maybe that's an interesting model.
Yeah, of course, nobody knows what will happen in the future and when, and so it's very hard to make promises like that. So the way we're stating it right now is that should that milestone, should your payment go below the promised amount in USD value, then yeah, we can't, if we don't keep our end of the promise, then we can't hold you to your promise. But in that case, should that happen, we'll discuss the thing on a case-by-case basis. I think it's hard to fix everything in rules, so we'll talk with the teams. We'll say, okay, listen, the situation is right now. If we pay you out right now in AGIX, then it would be less value. And then we have options. We can say, well, we can delay the pay and see what happens next month, or we can talk with them and say, well, maybe we should reduce your scope a little bit. If you don't get paid, then maybe if we change the scope, it might still be a good fit. Yeah, and maybe for a team in certain circumstances, there are other ways. Maybe we can indeed, they will just continue. And at the end, like you're saying, at the end of the round, when they are onboarding, we can see if we can fix it. And if everything is going right and the exchange rate is going up and there was this sudden bleep, yeah, then I'm sure we can fix it. But if that line goes the other way, yeah, then we're all in trouble.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing, the fact that we have to, like, all these funds are paying in USD equivalent, right? It's always, it's going to be joy when the raise is happening, and difficult. I heard at the summit that some people were a bit disappointed with what Cardex did, because they ran a Catless natives, from my understanding, and ended up just halving the rewards payout.
Cardex. What is that?
Who ran the
Cardano Ox, or I think I'm actually I don't remember.
And it's hearsay, so I'm not I'm only
maybe Cardaship, the Impact project.
Cardex Exchange, was it?
Cardaship. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It was a Catless native challenge a few funds ago. But basically, because the token crashed out big time.
Yeah.
Is that it there? No,
I don't
that's not the native though.
So that is tricky. That is tricky, and we want to avoid that. And I also, what I also want to do is to continue organizing rounds, and at some point they will overlap. And the more teams there are working at the same time, the bigger the impact is on treasury if the exchange rate goes up or down. And by having a minimum value, it allows me to make better projections and worst case scenarios that we can build upon. So yeah, I think all in all, it's quite balanced. And yeah, if things really, if the shit hits the fan, then we're all fucked. Can I say that in a recorded meeting? I don't know.
Yeah.
But at least we have it in our conditions, and we are transparent about that, and we try to balance the risk as good as possible. It's just that we also have to protect the deep funding treasury as such for extreme cases, which may only be temporary.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of the topics in that big document of rules. I think it was 20 pages or something. Hi, Peter. Good to see you.
Hello, hello. Apologies for running 1 hour over on my previous. That was not intended, but necessary.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. So we had a very interesting talk about the developers documentation and the customer journey through the websites, etc. And I think we can make some improvements there. So that's nice. Yeah, and right now we just landed on the subject of rewards and then how that is being done. So I explained it, and also the minimum rewards that we're going to do. Yeah, and I think it was triggered by my question. What would be a good time to start a new round? And what kind of margin would you have against the minimum amount? And so if it were up to me and without market circumstances and maybe some other things that might be related to this, I would love to start the next round next week or something. I also think it's important to keep it going and keep the rhythm in, and I think it's time to have a new round. But
I would also actually suggest rather start sooner, because if you wait 2 weeks, then you only have like 1 or 2 weeks before everybody leads off to holidays. But if you start right now, then you have like more onboarding of like proposals and stuff to share when holidays are actually happening. And then when people come back, you can come with like, okay, now let's go to next stage.
Yeah, so not sure how the timing will exactly be. I can imagine that we have 4 weeks of submission periods and maybe 2 weeks of a stable period where there's commenting but not new proposals anymore. So that would give us 6 weeks. So that would already be January then. And then afterwards we can go to voting. So yeah, if we do it, then Christmas will be in the middle of that either way.
Right. Maybe a community vote.
And technically, Christmas time could be the time when people have time to actually propose, like side projects.
Yeah. So that's another way of looking at it. Sure. Yeah.
I was saying you can make a community poll and ask when people want to start it. If you're unsure, you could outline the reasons why you would want to start it in the next week or so, or put it off till after Christmas, or whatever, however that might look.
The same format we follow in the proposals.
Sorry?
The same format that's followed in the proposals.
Actually, this was one of the potential topic in the governance vote that we did. I actually presented it as an option. When do you want a next round done, and how often should we do it, etc. But there was not a single proposal that highlighted that. So yeah, it's an option. I also want to be. I mean, we don't have a community as big and dynamic and thriving as Catalyst, right? So I also want to be a little bit careful that I don't overburden them with too many questions at too many times. So we just had the community governance round. I can imagine, I don't rule it out that we would do something like that, but I'm also a little bit careful. Also, what you see is that in the governance round, we had this mechanism of also having weighted votes based on reputation, and that's something I quite like. And also quadratic voting results, which I also quite like. And doing a simple poll wouldn't do justice to all the learnings we got from that experiment. So it's like we're building this machine consensuously on making really good, valued decisions by the community. And then in the meantime, we're just throwing something in between. Who cares? So yeah, I'm still not ruling it out completely. Maybe at some point, if we are at some point to say, well, 50-50, it could just be the balance, flipping the balance, then it might be an option.
I guess it depends on how you frame it, right? If it's just a quick straw poll, tell us what you think. Here's the options that we're thinking of. But if it's a governance decision, then yeah, then it probably needs to be held back and made in a different manner. Because I mean, how often funds are is a parameter, right? Should be in the governance model at some point. It doesn't have to be so early. Like
yeah. So yeah, but you're right. But yeah, I think in the next community governance round, we can readdress this, and people can say, no, I want 8 rounds a year, or I want 4 or 2 rounds a year, or and maybe we can set it up differently, even, especially for the existing services. But you know, we're at the beginning, and I think we need to ask these questions and things in a phased approach. And yeah, we already have 2 things completely decided by the community this round, and the next round there's an opportunity to give some more input. And as we mature, and also the voting mechanism matures and the reputation mechanism behind it matures, then there will be more and more opportunity to leave things with confidence to the community. And as we mature, there will be less things that we need to ask, because it will solidify a little bit.
So then, practically speaking, if we're almost 4 weeks away from Christmas, right? Yeah. So would we have like the first we would have a 4-week period of being open?
So the way that I wrote it, I think in the guidelines is, I think it's similar to last time, 4 weeks submit period. We could do that a little bit shorter, because the first time it was apparent that most people submit at the last moment. On the other hand, now if we want to build out a reputation system, we should also give people the opportunity to be active on the portal. So wouldn't be too quick to really shorten that too much. But I can imagine 4 weeks of submitting period, and then, because there will always be people that submit at the latest instance, I think we need to give the community some time to consume those things that are being posted at the last minute. So at the minimum be 1 week, and maybe 2 weeks. And then yeah, we do have Christmas in between.
No, so if we would announce it, or actually well, Yeah, opening of the round, if that would be next week, then might be fine. And the stable period is during holiday season, but
yeah, and the other thing is the market conditions. So initially, my idea was to have a minimum exchange rate of 4 or even 5 cents at some point. But right now we're at 4.2 or 4.3 or so. So it's really close to the minimum that I had in mind. And we can lower that a little bit. But that might then also impact the total awards that we have available.
So that was the point that I was trying to make. Instead of setting a USD amount equivalent now, you set a Singularity token amount. So you say this much. Oh, you can't though, can you? Because that's what we're saying. That the rewards.
We're calculating it. So the good thing about calculating it based on disbursements is that it's already spread out over time because of that. So really sudden movement shouldn't have that much impact.
Yeah. But I mean, Fund 9 got super expensive now for Catalyst, right? Like it's dropped significantly. I mean,
yeah.
The Cardano treasury.
How does Catalyst do the payout? At what moment do they pay up the granted amount? At the beginning of the
monthly reporting is required, so you need to submit a monthly report. And from Fund 9, if you've got a over 75,000 project or in the DApp a specific challenge, then you need to submit milestone reports, so that we're moving to a milestone model as well, at least for the larger funded projects.
Yeah. But if you don't have milestone awards and you have monthly reports, so suppose that I submit a proposal for $20,000 and I get awarded. When do I get my money?
Every month. If you need to,
the first money you get it, like I think 20% or something of your asked, depending actually on when you submit it, you will say like how many months you are gonna do it, like 6 or 9 months, and usually they just split it into like 5. Then they give you money, and then if 1 month you don't report, then you just don't get more. If you report something and nobody reads it, then you get another batch.
So the disbursements are also spread out over time. So the reason that this is expensive right now is not just Fund 9, but also people working on the projects from earlier rounds. That makes it, And what I want to avoid is that in deep funding is that we run a risk of not being able to pay anymore because we have people in 4 rounds working for us, and then suddenly there's a movement in the exchange rates that would bring us into problems, and that's why I do think we need that minimum. But then still the question is where to put that minimum, and balance it with a proper reward amount. And I was hoping we wouldn't need to go below 4 cents, and right now being at 3 cents, it would also be quite awkward that we start a new round, and then at the moment that the round begins, we're already below the minimum. That would really be a quite awkward situation.
Yeah, if that's only a 7% bounce from current price, that's not a good minimum.
Yeah, having a lower minimum would mean that with a next round we would eat up quite a bit of our treasury. And it's very well possible that in half a year or a year, the price will be completely different than today. And then we will regret that, we were so liberal with it now.
I mean, currently, are you planning to make this fund bigger than the last one though, or is it the same size? Or
I think it will sooner be a little bit smaller. Last one, it was 1 million USD. I think it will be 750 or 500 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it just might have to be that and that's the way life goes, maybe.
Yeah.
There was an announcement for JED at the summit, so I don't know how that fits into.
Or JED, a stablecoin.
Yeah, but I don't know what
the thing there is that we are now awarding teams with the utility token, and from a tax regime that is different than if we would exchange the utility token against a stable coin or something else. Then it would suddenly be money.
But you could I don't know how your treasury is set up, and obviously there's the legal and the tax situation, but you could hedge internally into the stable coin and then trade back and pay out.
Yeah, but then deep funding is just a part of the SingularityNET Foundation. It isn't a separate legal entity. So yeah, whatever we would do with those tokens, it would expose us to different tax regulations. And yeah, there are a lot of legal boring things related to that, which is another thing that we are looking into right now. But there are some hooks and angles there. Yeah, that make that is a completely different angle, which might also impact the timing of a next round. But I have to leave that to the legal team. But we'll get there, and yeah. At the same time, we can use whatever time we have and that we don't organize around for good things. And I think the governance round was really good. I enjoyed it, and I think it was successful, and I think it will help us in the future. So that's one thing we can do. And the other thing that I would really love to get started on somehow is creating that training for an onboarding team, community onboarding team. So there was another topic, Peter, we discussed with some depth. And then we would be really well organized for the next round. But of course, we are not waiting for that. We are doing those things anyway in parallel.
Yeah, and excuse me, because I feel like I know this, but I forgot. How is the treasury replenished for the fund?
Well, what we did in SingularityNET more than a year ago, 1.5 years ago. All right, yeah. We had a community vote on minting another 1 billion tokens. And I think it was 90% of the community that everybody said you're crazy, but it was 90% of the community that said, well, that's actually a good thing, because it will increase our capability to grow and expand. And the treasury is replenished from those minted tokens, and those tokens are too late, are burned with a diminishing rate. So every month, a little bit less tokens are being minted. So yeah, right now our treasury is doing very well in terms of tokens, but we have to be careful. And the idea behind that is that hopefully in time, as we create more utility and more products, etc., then the value of our utility token would rise, which would compensate the lower amount of tokens being minted. So that is the thinking behind it. And originally it was like a straight line for 5 years. And then there was this very clever community member who said, maybe we shouldn't do it in a straight line, but do it, it's not exponential, but what's the other term, downwards in diminishing amounts. Sorry?
Logarithmic.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also a very, very humble community member.
Yeah. All right.
It was Jan. But it was a great great suggestion.
The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was I did get the sheet, but honestly I was so busy with the summit that I didn't get time. Well, I looked it over, but like you said, the values are pasted, so I couldn't see any of the
the sheet. Yeah.
But it's still interesting, the numbers, but yeah, I couldn't make much sense out of it.
Yeah, I understand. I totally. It was also quite a sophisticated sheet in the end. At first I tried to do only the hide the addresses, etc., and keep the formulas in, but yeah, it was really too hard because everything was connected and there were lookup tables, etc. So I couldn't find an easy way to do that.
And then the other thing I wanted to mention was there's this one of our speakers at the summit in the Cardano talked about this very interesting tool. It's literally called milestone based, and it's this tool for VCs and projects and DAOs, whatever, to be able to fund projects based on milestones. I think it only works with EVM compatible projects, but I'll send it here just as an inspiration. I automatically thought of deep funding, so it might be worth looking into it.
Have you? Oh yeah, I see it. I'll have a good look at that. Yeah, if that can help save administrative work and maybe make the whole thing more transparent, that would be great. But of course, yeah, if it's Ethereum based, then might not be.
They do have plans, but I'm not sure what their roadmap looks like just yet.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's also tooling to be made, the reputation system itself, like that Excel sheet. I can't continue making Excel sheets like that. It will be more and more complex, so we need a proper tool to measure that. So that's one thing. I'm actually talking to some teams from the last round if they would support us in that and maybe get funded from deep funding if the community allows. And there are other tools that we need to have. So my dream is that we have some kind of open development network where we can have building blocks of tools that would be where one would be able to interconnect them and with some kind of Lego mechanism, not unsimilar to our decentralized AI platform. Would be able to create new tools or adapted tools for specific situations with a short timeline. That's a whole other topic.
It is. I was reading this paper that I bought, and sorry, let me just put in my earphones 1 second. It doesn't work. I'm just gonna speak anyway. And it was about it was like the stochastic modeling on how to build like the most optimal reputation system. And the conclusion was that there's all these amazing ideas, but it sucks that we're limited by the tooling that we can get. Because then I started thinking about how we can enhance platforms like Sway. You know, if there was like a social feature where you can somehow follow people that you think have merit in the system, and then you can even funnel through comments to see what they comment to help, like things like that, you know. And then you're also, because another takeaway was that your reputation is heavily tied to other people that you could bring in. So kind of like an affiliation system, and it could either be negatively or positively correlated. And then it's things, you know, amazing ideas like that. If you're interested, I can send you the paper. It's very mathy, but there's like high level concepts that you can translate hopefully into like product features or something along those lines. Yeah.
I think maybe on Slack would be great if there's other potential interested community members.
Sorry, what on Slack?
Well, for a link to this paper, that would be.
You mean Discord, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What did I said Slack, I guess.
Slack.
Yeah.
Discord.
Yeah, so what I did right now is just doing stuff. In the next round, I can still do it this way, but it will be a little bit more complex because then you have 2 rounds and you have to factor in also the reputation from the previous round. Then in the next stage, what we want to do is to have a kind of liquid reputation where if I have a high reputation and I give good feedback to you, that will give you more added value than if Peter with his low reputation would give you proper feedback. So, and at that stage, when we're getting there, then this spreadsheet won't hold up anymore. That will get too complex. So yeah, there we are indeed bound by tooling. But yes, as I mentioned, I'm working on it working on it. We've discussed it. I've made a first outline, and I try to get Sway on board, also on Discord available. And then I hope we can create a proposal together. I'm pretty sure we will, actually, at least for deep funding. And then I want to make it as, first of all, for deep funding, but also generic enough that other projects and platforms will be able to use it. And so that would be the long-term vision. So if you want to be involved in that, let me know. Then I'll add you to the Discord team.
I'd love to. Well, I can try to.
All right, I'll add you. Great, great to have you there. You have more like a product view also, right?
Yes. Product is mostly what I worked in software. I haven't had that much experience. I'm still quite young, but for my product is heavily product based. I'm a CPO at this company that we co-founded. So but my mind works in product. So yeah.
Well, we have the two teams are rather technical teams. So it's Robert and Kenrick. They're really number people, I would say. And then there's Sway, who is product, of course. But yeah, it would be good to have your point of view there as well. Very welcome. Great.
I personally wouldn't be surprised if a year from now it's just completely gonna blow up, because I was talking to so much people during Summit, it was just a recurring theme like DAO tooling. I'd be surprised if a year from now there's not like a big alliance on that.
Yeah, I agree, but I think the underlying issue is the architecture, because DAOs are ever growing, but software architecture has to be super clean, super microservice based. It can't be any, and I think that's where the problem is. It's not just the ideas or the features; it's the underlying architecture that needs to handle. It needs to be very configurable, very modular, very and then the data needs to be transferred between. It's complicated, I think, more than we can see at the surface.
Yeah, so I did actually make an outline for the architecture together with a colleague of mine, and I hope I will get the opportunity to discuss it with some people from Catalyst or Cardano or Catalyst at some point to see how what their ideas are and their plans are, and if we can get aligned on that. But yeah, personally, I would love it to jump in and to really make something good there. And yeah, my main statement here is that we shouldn't make decentralization work based on centralized tooling. And that's another thing here, that it's not just features and architecture, but it's also a lot of organizations that would have the goal of becoming the go-to tool for the whole ecosystem. And yeah, you're muted, by the way, but
I'm just agreeing.
So yeah, in my ideal world, we would have some kind of framework that allows different people to create building blocks, and all these building blocks would be able to work together, and then you can make front-end solutions using those building blocks. And those could be either proprietary or open source, those front-end solutions, but because you have a number of building blocks that everybody can use, the extra investment and time needed to create a front end would be much lower. So there would be more competition, basically.
Wow, it seems like we need a deep funding for this specific category. Cool.
Yeah, well, the first thing would be to make my reputation score tool to make my life easier, I would say, and make it more transparent and reliable. And then next to that, or in parallel, if we can start thinking about a framework that would make this kind of Lego approach possible, that would be a more long-term thing. But if we could do that, that would be really fantastic. Yeah. And that is actually something that we could also, they would probably propose in the next round of Catalyst. Yeah. But we don't know yet when that will be either. All right. Oh, it's just about time. That's good timing. And it's just, the four of us. Daniel, how are you? We haven't heard your voice. Can you do us the pleasure still? Say hi, hello, bye.
Hi, hello. I've been listening to everything that has been discussed, and that's everything is on point, and the suggestions are also brilliant.
Wow, cool. Great to hear that. Yeah, and feel free. I hope you will join the next time, and feel free just to join the discussion. It's just, yeah, we record it, but we're just friends here discussing interesting stuff. So don't be shy. But glad that you were here. Appreciate that. So welcome. All right, then I would say, not sure. Well, you're in Dubai, so for you it's already late. It's already quite late, so doubly appreciated. Where are you normally located, Joanna?
I'm based out of Canada at the moment, but honestly, I've been a nomad for a very long time, so I never know how to answer this question.
Oh, really? Cool. Okay, and then I would say let's call it a day for today.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.
Thanks a lot. The pleasure was all mine.